in. Some people do well with the toe pointed straight ahead, but what we will typically coach, and you'll notice that Coach Turner is doing this, is toeing in slightly on the front foot and driving the heel out on the back foot. This takes stress off of the big toes and also allows the knees to track out in a very strong and stable position while also improving glute activation. The slight hinge improves glute activation in addition to taking stress off of the low back.
So exercise 2 of our split squat progression on day 3 is going to be a Zercher split squat. Now a Zercher position just refers to sort of underhooking the bar, right? And that's really what we want to highlight in terms of the transferability of this exercise. Bryce is going to set the J hooks to a little bit higher than hip height so that he can easily stand up from there. He's going to really use the muscles of his upper back to maintain this torso position. And he's also not letting his hands collapse inward. He's drawing them out, which is helping to externally rotate the shoulders and keep these muscles nice and active. So he walks it back, and the lower body is going to go to that same split squat position that we've been practicing countless other times through this program, right? He's got to slightly heel out on the back foot, toe in on the lead leg, and his knee will track over his pinky toe as he presses that back knee to the floor. And just like in jiu-jitsu, this is an isometric position. Just like when you're grinding and utilizing an underhook, you have to maintain that isometric position with the upper body, which is using the same muscles that we're using to maintain this position, especially as we load up this bar.
The third exercise in our day 3 split squat progression is a barbell B stance squat. Now, we've demonstrated a B stance hip thrust, but the setup is very different between a hip thrust and a squat. The concept is the same. We're using one leg as the working leg and a second supporting leg as really a kickstand, like the kickstand on a bike. In the hip thrust, the kickstand leg is in front, but there's no way that we could squat like that. So the leg is instead behind. But the same rules of thumb apply where the stance is very narrow, we can't have a wide B stance, and the heels and toes line up of the opposite feet. If you're having a little bit of trouble with this, you can, similar to how we've talked about for certain lunge variations, pick your kickstand leg off to really make sure that the weight is through your working leg. We can then put it back down again. I also like to place an emphasis on toeing out and doing a little bit of an active calf raise, because as soon as the heel comes down to the ground, we're going to cheat and start to shift weight onto that leg. So we're really looking to maintain a strong position here. Now Coach Turner is going to break at the hip, keeping his weight through the heel and squatting down as deep as he can on predominantly the right leg. Now, we've talked previously about how the range of motion may be different for different people on a number of exercises, especially squatting. You may have noticed on my back squat that my ankle mobility is not particularly good, so I can get a little bit below parallel while still maintaining posture, but you can see here that Coach Turner's ankle mobility is excellent and allows him to drop very, very deep into a squat to where his hamstring touches his calf, and he's still maintaining a strong, braced, neutral torso position. The B stance does typically help people with joint limitations be able to squat deeper, and even though we're getting a very deep range of motion, which is very specific to positions in jiu-jitsu, it's typically very knee friendly.
The first exercise in our body weight press movement pattern is just your standard push-up. Now, something that might be tough to see from there that I'll demo with my body first is that as we're doing a push-up, just like we've talked about in other horizontal pressing motions, we want our body to sort of form an arrow if you look at the upper arms relative to the torso. Don't let those elbows wing out too much. So Bryce is going to get set up with the hands roughly underneath the shoulders. And as he goes down from here, he's going to make sure that his elbows remain relatively close to the torso, within that 45-degree angle range. And from here, he's not trying to just push as high up as he can get. He's keeping that stable shoulder position that we've talked about in the past. Make sure that we're also moving from the hips, that our body is moving as one single unit all the way down and all the way back up, and that we're not leaking or moving at different rates with the upper versus lower body. So exercise 2 on our body weight pressing movement pattern is a decline push-up. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab something like a bench. If this is too difficult, you can decrease the resistance by going with a lower object, right? We're going to use a bench for today. And this is going to be very similar to a push-up. All of the other points that I talked about should hold true here as well. The big thing that I want to draw attention to is many people tend to start to let the hips sag on this exercise. Really make sure to keep those hips up. Yep, keep our quads, glutes, and abs nice and tight, just like we're doing a plank. And then our whole body should move as a unit from here.
Final exercise in our day 3 upper body pressing progression is the handstand push-up. These are very challenging for overhead shoulder mobility. And one easy way to progress or regress the movement is to add more or fewer RX pads. If we have none,